Assalamualaikum and a very good day to Miss Murniza. We are going to present about the tourism demand and markets. What is tourism demand? According to Madison and Wall 1982, tourism demand is the number of people travel or wish to travel in order to use the tourism facilities or services at a certain destination away from the place.
I'm going to present about the global patterns of the tourism demand. First of all, we'll look roughly at the travel and also tourism receipt factors that affect tourism demand. Economic and financial development, demography and social changes, technological innovations and development, environmental planning, trading development and safety travel. Next is the key factors directly affecting the tourism demand. Nowadays, tourists have the knowledge about the destinations, about the product at the destinations. Nextly is product that have been developed by the private sector or the government sector of the destination that will attract. Thirdly is the trend in the tourism market and development. Fourthly is about the supply of skill and experienced human resource. Next is effect on level of tourism demand, which is have 5. And firstly, I will touch about demographic as we look at the Europe, on the development tourism demand, and specifically there are focus on the third age, which is 65 to 80 age population knowledge. Tourists are eager to learn new things about opportunities that we'll get from the travel, and also particularly about the destination, political and economic issues that have at the destination. Next is TV, televisions and magazine, which is the developments of these two things can persuade tourists to go to the destination. This is developments of the aircraft, which is where nowadays aircraft can carry for a long haul destination, long distance and large number of passengers. And thirdly, you can look at the reservations and computer database system. Keys that can affect the level of demand, which is prices. Prices play a big role in the decisions making, which is it will increase the demands of the tourism product. Next, I will talk about key and determining factors influence tourism demand. First, it's the Asia Pacific. The factors that influence of tourism demand is the purchasing power, the air connectivity. There's a lots of airports and aircraft that can go to the destinations and open up for a visa at the places. Asia Pacific, we look at the South Asia, Northeast Asia, Oceania, and also Southeast Asia. Secondly, we look at the Africa. For Africa, we look at the North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, which is Africa in the steps of recovery, which is from a positive travel advice, issues of the security, more connectivity of the airline, and also strong currency. Next, we look at the Middle East. Middle East, as we know that for some places are focusing on the tourism, such as people go for a religious purpose. We look at the Qatar. It's the most visa open country in the Middle East. The recovery of the diplomatic crisis. Next, we look at the Europe. Europe is the most visited regions in 2018. Central, South, North and West Europe. Europe have an increase because of the exchange rate that are beneficial. Look at the American, North America, Caribbean, South American and also Central America. At the America, the sub-regions Caribbean, it shows the negative numbers of tourists arrival and also tourism receipts. This is because the impacts of strong hurricane at 2017. Alright, next we're going to talk about national differences. We'll look at the national differences inbound, outbound and domestic. So first we'll look at the domestic visitor. At the Malaysia, Selangor has stated as the most visited country, which is 3.6 million people peoples visit Selangor. In 2019, it shows 239.1 million. It shows the increased number about 8.1% of the number of visitor. Next is number of trips. Also, we look at the comparison between 2018, which is 302.4 million, and 2019, 32 million, and it also shows the increased numbers, which is 9.9%. And next, at the expenditure, shows that on 2018, 92.6 million, and 2019 is 103 million, and also it shows the increased number of percent. For activities that contribute in the expenditure, we can look such as shopping, food, visit the household, transportation, entrance tickets, and activities that we do. The main purpose of trips by domestic visitor mostly is because VFR, which is visit friends and relatives. Next is shopping. Thirdly is for a leisure purpose. Fourth is for medical purpose, and also fifth for entertainment. Secondly, we look at the inbound, which is people come to our country, and it shows on the tourist arrival, and also we receive. Most of people are coming to Malaysia. First of all, it's because of the food. Our country have many culture and many religions that makes we have many kinds of food. Secondly, is a medical purpose, which is because our country have an affordable cost for the treatment, and also we have a place after treatment that are relaxing. 3. For natural and heritage purposes, when people come to Malaysia to visit UNESCO heritage sites or to seek for another nature adventures like diving at Simpadan Island or Tioman Island, or going visit at UNESCO sites such as Mount Kinabalu.
Now I'm going to talk about the nature of demand in different segments of tourism market. There are 12 tourism markets. First, the family market. In USA and Northern Europe, family usually named as a nuclear family with 2 parents and 1 to 3 children. Southern Europe, Middle East, and most of the Asian countries, the phenomenon of having an extended family with a large number of children, and also a combination of a relative and a holiday, or their involvement in the purchase transaction. We also cannot forget about in this world about the phenomenon of a single parent family with 1 parent and their children. Number of children in a family has an impact on the demand. The core determinant of the family market is the existence of the children. This will depend on the age of the children. First is babies. Parents must focus on the baby comfort and their safety. Next is the infant, aged between 2 to 5 years old, and parents should choose a short journey because a long journey can get them bored. And next is early school age children, aged 5 to 12 years old, and they tend to play with their new friends of a similar age. Next is a teenager, aged between 13 to 18 years old, and they also need to have an independent life, and also they enjoy adult activities. The next is hedonistic tourists. The main motivator is the desire of physical pleasure, social life, and also fashion. The development of the original 4S, sun, sea, sand, and sex tourism, and also additional of the 5S, which is sangria, the consumption of alcohol. Hedonistic tourists bring to the growth of uncommon style of nightlife and partying in the destination. For example, at the Ibiza. The backpacker market, that famous in the young market, and backpacker tourists will use rucksack and also backpack rather than suitcase to bring all the items for along the journey. The characteristic of a backpacker is first independent rather than a package travel. They desire to keep expenditure at the minimum level. They try to keep off the tourist track that commonly used. The duration of the holiday will take 1 to 2 weeks of a normal holiday. Visiting friends and relatives, VFR. People travel under VFR do not stay at the commercial accommodation like hotel. Friends and relatives feel obligated to bring their visitors to look around, which bring business to the local attraction. VFR can be a formal occasion like wedding. Excursionists and day trippers. They travel for 1 day or less for leisure activities. Some require preparing and booking, but mostly are more spontaneous decisions. For example, they make a decision in the morning. Excursionist is largely a car-based market and a coach excursion. They are major consumer of food and drink services and leisure activities, but less in the accommodation. Educational tourists. This recent year, there are a massive growth of educational tourism. Some dimensions of educational tourism are: first, student exchange between universities may take 2 or 3 months to a year. Second is young people attending language class in the foreign country. And third is a term holiday where tourists travel to pursue a common interest. Religious tourists, one of the oldest forms of tourism. They are unique and driven by a sense of duty and obligation than a search of pleasure and leisure. The pilgrimage is a highly restricted market and being only available to believers in a particular faith. The traditional infrastructure of the religious tourism become an attraction to a non-religious tourist. The snowbird market, one of the major growth markets in the USA and Northern Europe, also inspired by the climate motivators. For example, Northern Europeans travel to Southern Europe in the summer to get a suntan. There are two interrelated characteristics. First is a long duration trip from 4 weeks to 4 months, and second is taken by retired people that can take a long holiday. What motivates older people? First, they want to escape cold weather. Second, they want to reduce expenditure of heating at home. Second, they want to improve their health. Third is they want to make a new friends and have a less lonely life. Ethnic minority tourists, some small group of different nationalities that live and base their family in one particular country. Only few people from this group are regular purchasers in the tourism industry, according to the many developed economies. Next is the tourists with disabilities. There are many kinds of disabilities. First is mobility problems, and second one is sight difficulties. Third one is hearing difficulties. Their needs may dictate every aspect of their holiday choice, and they take a holiday at all. They also deny equal access of the tourist product. Social tourism, largely a phenomenon in European that give an idea of tourism is a social right of citizens, and tourism brings social benefit to some people. Next is the short break market. Short break market is an additional holiday, not the main annual holiday. For example, romantic weekend, visiting friends and relatives, shopping a trip, and also special interest. Short break tend to be at a planned and booked well in advance, or they purchase at the last minute to release stress, or a spontaneous celebration of a happy event.
Next is the consumer behavior and market in different sectors of tourism. There are many factors to be considered when making the purchase decision for the tourist, includes of seasonality, price, and travel distance. Firstly is the seasonality. Seasonality usually involved with the peak season and also off-peak season. Peak season is when the people take all their family members for a holiday, especially during school holidays. And during this season, it is a great benefit for the tour operators, charter air schedule airlines, and also the visitor attractions because it can give high demand for the tourists. However, for the city center hotel and schedule airlines, school holidays is their off-peak season. Second is about the price. Price is the main key in the purchase of the decision making for the tourists. Consumers expect that the price that they pay match the quality of the product and services offered. For example, the consumer expect that the price that they pay is not just for the room, but also for the facilities and services that offered by the hotel, as it can give the best memories or experiences for the consumer when they use their services. Besides, the increased competition in online market because the prices are accessible to all, which the service offered are quite same but offered with a different range of price. Hence, the customer can decide to choose the best services at the best price, such as comparing at the online website through trivago.com and also booking.com. The last factors that can be considered when purchasing the decision making for the tourist is the travel distance. Travel distance is when the consumer need to go to another places or another destination to buy the services or product. For example, the tourists need to buy a unique product that available at a certain place that cannot be found anywhere except that place. Next is the method of segmenting the market. There are 5 methods of segmenting the market. Firstly, geographical. Geographical is where we need to know where the customers live. Next is the demographic, which is we need to know the tourist age, sex, and also the family status. Other than that is the business travelers versus leisure travelers, and also frequent travelers and infrequent travelers. And the last one is independent tourists versus organized group. The last part is the differences in consumer behavior between the business tourists and also the leisure tourists. The first difference between the business tourists and leisure tourists is business tourists does not usually choose the destination. This is because mostly the employer usually make the decision for the trip, while for the leisure tourists, they actually make their own decision, as it can fulfill their interest for vacation. Secondly, the business tourists usually travel for frequently. This is because they travel for business projects such as attending the meeting, convention, and also the conference. While for the leisure tourists, they usually travel infrequently because mostly they travel during school holidays. Thirdly, the business tourists usually takes the trip for the short period of duration. This is because they usually go for the trip and complete their job in a short period of time. While for the leisure tourists, they usually takes the trip that are longer than the business tourists. This is because they have flexible time to visit a lot of places. Lastly, the business tourists usually less budget conscious as they are not paying the cost for the trip. This is because the business trip usually gets supported by the company. While for the leisure tourists, they are relatively cost conscious because they are usually paying the bill for the trip themselves.
As a conclusion to the topic of tourism demand and market, we can conclude that there are a number of different sub-markets within tourism, some of which are interrelated. For tourism marketers, it is important to realize the tourism market is not homogeneous as a whole, but rather a collection of overlapping sub-markets, each within their own characteristics. Moving on to article review, the term backpacker was agreed by academicians since 1990, and among the characteristics is that they are individuals who independently organize a flexible travel itinerary Their journeys usually lengthy and incorporate multiple destinations, and they also travel on a budget and opt for budget accommodation. Characteristics I have just mentioned is closely related to the issue and trend that has been going on in our countries recently before the pandemic hit. So have a look at this headline. Please help fund my trip. Backpackers linger at Malacca's Junker Street despite ban. The term backpacker is very famous in Southeast Asian countries and cities like Hong Kong, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Penang, and Malacca. So how is this an issue, and why has it caused local people to rage? First of all, looking at the headline of the article is just wrong. Usually, when tourists visit a country, they are supposed to be financially prepared and contributing to the country's economy. Ironically, there are some tourists who come and sell to the locals instead, and even worse, some beg the locals for funds so they could head to their next journey and destination, and also prolong their stay. Even though some of them are busking or selling knick-knack on the streets, this has caused shop owners concern on business without paying rent or permits, while they have to go through a lot of process to pay and earn money. On another note, the travelers are on tourist visa, which meant they are not allowed to work or do business while traveling in the country. A local coconut shakes seller at Junker Street for 2 years expressed that foreign visitors should be buying from locals and not the other way around. She reported that she has seen the backpackers every day over the last month and hoped the local authorities would frequently patrol the area to stop them operating. It is not heavily affected if only 1 or 2 sellers started selling or begging. However, the flooding of backpackers who sells and begs on every street in tourist areas can mean a significant disrupt to the local business and give a bad picture of our country to the other groups of travelers. An approach to the problem was that there were issuance of authority to remove foreign peddler. The authority were to warn them, and if they do not obey, they would issue notice, compound, or even confiscate their things. It shows how these backpackers does not respect and adhere to the local authorities, as after 3 months of their active, they show up again at the Junker Street. Meanwhile, in neighboring countries like Thailand have demanded visitors to have at least 20,000 baht on them before entry, and Vietnam's tourism authorities have issued warnings about trying to make money without a permit. Malaysia could implement similar approaches to halt these backpackers.